We woke up in the middle of the night with noises of threshing, not knowing what epilepsy was. We didn't know what was happening. Brandon was having a seizure.
When it was like 2 years into it, the doctors thought it might have been like, because he was so tall, he had such a growth spurt, they thought it might have been he would grow out of it, or that it was just a one-time thing. So at 16, they started weaning him off, and then he had to go back on since he did start having seizures again. So we knew then that it would be a lifelong medication. He loved all sports, and he loved to swim, and there was a swimming pool at his apartment complex. Brandon's friend was taking his 2 little girls out of the pool, and he looked back to say goodbye to Brandon because they were leaving, and he was at the bottom of the pool. We asked those questions, why? We have no one in our family who has it. Is it genetic or what? And they said it's very hard. We don't know why, and that's hard to accept.
Our first encounter with Stacy's seizures was when she was about 7 months old. When I walked in the emergency room that day, Stacy was on a ventilator fighting for her life. Her first seizure lasted 45 minutes, and they had to give her so many drugs to get her to stop that they almost couldn't get it to stop. When she was about 1.5 years, 2 years old, she would take 20 pills a day. And all those medicines, none of them ever controlled her seizures. She's had so many side effects from these drugs. Some drugs made her so drowsy and drunk, she would walk into walls, she would fall flat on her face. One of the hardest things I struggle with as her mom is I don't really know how this makes her feel. Some days I really wish she could talk and tell me, and then other days I don't, because I don't want to know how she feels. 1 minute she's perfectly fine, and the next minute we're rushing her to the emergency room. Sometimes her seizures last 5 minutes. Sometimes they last an hour and a half. The unpredictability is what's the hardest. Never knowing 1 minute what to expect the next minute. I worry most about the future for her. Trying not to think about it, but wondering when she's my age, can she have kids? Can she live in a house? Can she be on her own? That's probably what I worry about the most. The other thing I worry about is, will she ever have a seizure and she'll die?
I got a page on my pager that said 911, which I knew something was wrong. And I was about a block away from my house, and when I pulled around the corner, all I saw were the paramedics and the fire department in front of my house, and the paramedics were carrying my son out to the ambulance, and he was in a full body convulsion, just literally like flopping like a fish. Zachary's life is difficult in the sense that the seizures have caused developmental delays, so he cannot do what other kids do. He cannot participate. He can't ride a bike. He doesn't know how to run. For us, the biggest difficulty for him is trying to get his seizures under control. He's trying all the medications, trying the ketogenic diet for 2.5 years, having the vagus nerve stimulator implanted. We've pretty much done everything, and we still can't get his seizures under control.
And there are some 40 million, at least 40 million persons with epilepsy worldwide. And if you're thinking of 40 to 60% that don't respond to anti-epileptic drug medications, that's a lot of human beings that are suffering from epilepsy, suffering from not being able to go to school, not being able to go to work, having repeating convulsive seizures, potentially damaging brains. And 1% of them have sudden death.
I am afraid sometimes. I get scared that I'll fall down, hit my head, and die. My medicine makes me dizzy, sometimes shaky, tired. I walk cockeyed, that kind of stuff.
She's tried every medication that's available in the United States. Also, we've tried Mexico, England, and Canada's pharmaceutical companies, and nothing helps. Noelle did have brain surgery in 1992 where they spliced into the brain trying to stop the electrical current, but to no avail. She continues to have seizures.
My life is hard now, and hopefully we can get a cure someday. Maybe not now, but mid-20s or later, earlier. But right now, life's not so great.
It's a very difficult thing to have to tell someone that you can't offer them the possibility of a cure, that they have to live the rest of their lives with epilepsy, with medications, and tell them that there really is no hope right now.
I was like 7 months old, and I began having seizure after seizure, and they kept on happening.
We saw her in a full convulsion, this tiny little 7-month-old baby with her eyes rolling back and her hands clenched. And we thought maybe it was a passing thing, and we didn't realize that this would define her whole life, that she would have thousands of these afterwards, that they'd eat away at her brain, that she'd have to take all these medications that just make her life difficult.
Now I take Depakote, Lamictal, Keppra, Paxil. Things would be better for me if I wouldn't have seizures. It's making me have a problem with the brain and having problems with reading and math. And makes me hard to sleep. It makes me hard to work with small seizures. It makes me hard with everything.
I know I can't get her childhood back. I know I can't maybe I can't repair the brain cells that have been lost. But I just would like her to have some peace. That's what I want.
Well, it's really all about hope. It's about giving someone hope for someone who previously thought there was no hope, the chance to have another opportunity to be cured. My goal is to develop a technique for intraoperative localization of epilepsy that's really better than what we have now and becomes the standard of care. To be able to use optical techniques to identify where epilepsy is coming from, where it's going, and that should increase the efficacy of our surgery. The support of the Cure Foundation has really been essential in getting this off the ground and trying to move these techniques from the laboratory to the operating room.
Cure Foundation is the foundation that's dedicated to finding cures, in contrast to other foundations. This is the foundation that recognized the seriousness of certain epilepsy syndromes where a cure is drastically needed. Reverse epilepsy, change the lives of our children with epilepsy, our young adults with epilepsy, bring them back to school, bring them back to productive work, and have normal lives like you and me.